What's up, everyone? Welcome to another how-to video produced by PX1 Sports. Today we are going to tackle making money in Madden 15 connected franchise. Now, a lot of people, myself included, were having a hard time getting funds, as they're called, in Madden 15, and it was causing a lot of problems. It happened a lot in our league. I've seen a lot of it online. People are having problems making money. It's keeping them from signing players. It's keeping them from being active in free agency. It's really holding a lot of guys back. So I wanted to go in and make a video, kind of show you guys how you can go through and actually make some money in connected franchise mode. How you can have a stash of available funds, which will allow you to sign free agents if you have an injury during the season, and it'll allow you to be active in the offseason free agency and not have to sit on the sidelines and watch everybody else sign players. So we're going to go through and we're going to create an offline CFM real quick. I just picked a generic owner, creating an owner so that we're not starting off with a lot of money or anything. We're going to go ahead and start off as the Jaguars. We're going to take a team that's not expected to do very well, doesn't have a great market or anything like that. Somebody that should be kind of hard to make money with. So that's what we're going to do, just create a generic owner, nothing like that. Now, going through on the game settings, I'm just going to go through and do it on all pro. I don't know that pro or all Madden have a huge difference. I'm going to set the play clock, what we use in the league. It's not really important. It doesn't make a big difference or not. The one thing that you really want to make sure that you're adjusting on your team, and this is not just when you're creating a franchise, you can do this on when you're in a league with other people, is to go down in your settings and make sure that CPU assistance on all of your roster related things is turned off. You don't want your CPU to handle signing free agents, filling the roster, re-signing players, anything like that. You want to be in control of all that so that you can make the most the smartest decisions overall. So we're going to go down here, make sure that all that stuff is off. We don't want no re-signing players, no off-season free agents, none of that. We also want to turn off fill roster. So make sure all that stuff is turned off and that you're handling all that in, whether it's offline or online CFM, you want to do that. So the first thing that we do when you start off your season, if you're waiting for your offline or your online CFM to start, or you're just creating a new franchise, you really can't do anything as far as your roster. But what you can do, as you can see there, everything's locked as far as the roster. But what you can do is you can go into your finances, your owner mode here. And so the first thing we're going to look at is, where all of our pricing set as far as, where we're starting off at, and kind of show you guys what you do. Now, the first thing to pay attention to is on the right-hand side of the screen, it says, it's at Jaguars. So that's your Twitter feed. That's your feed from your fans, what the fans are saying about what you're doing. That's going to give you a great indication of whether your pricing's too high, and even if you become more successful, if it's too low. If they're like, hey, it's a steal or something like that, then you might have it set a little bit too low and want to move it back up. Generally, when I start off with a team that's not that great, I want to go through and I want to move everything down one level below where it started at, so that we're getting good feedback from the fans and we're trying to maximize as much as we can. That's a good rule of thumb. Now I'm going to start off in this video and just do the things that the fans say, so you guys can get an idea of how that works and how they'll change what they say and whatnot. But if I was going in starting a franchise on my own, or starting to play in an online CFM with a bunch of other people, and I'm not a great team, I'm going to take everything and move it down one notch from where the default is. That's just going to allow me to maximize it as much as possible. And generally, from what I've found, lowering it one tick is generally the good range. Some things you might have to go a little bit more, especially depending upon how bad you are, and what kind of fan base you have. But good rule of thumb, taking everything, lowering it one tick from when you started is the best way to start. So here I'm going and looking, and I'm adjusting all of the jersey prices down because they said they didn't like the value of the jersey or the home game jersey, so we're adjusting all of those down. But again, I'm only going right now, going by what the fans are saying, adjusting those so that you can see over the next few weeks how what they say changes and how that affects what you guys do. So we'll do that. Again, we're looking at some of the things they didn't like, the soda prices and the potato chips and the coffee prices. So we're going to adjust those down. Okay, so we've got those set, get ready to go for season or for the start of the preseason. So we're going to go ahead and advance to the preseason and get that started. Now, the first thing to pay attention to is we're starting the season off with 3 million, as you can see it up in the top corner. So we want to pay attention to where that is right now, how that starts to affect us over the first few weeks, and that's going to give us a gauge on how we want to change things going forward. All right, so our first game's at home. We're going to go ahead and advance the week and see how much money we generate in our first game at home. So we're starting with 3 million, and let's see where we go after we advance the week. Okay, so we sim the week, and now it shows that our funds are 4.53 million, which we started off with 3 million. So we made 1.53 million. Okay, so let's go in and take a look at what the fans are saying about our ticket prices. And looks like they're pretty happy with our mezzanine. They like our club section, and they like our suite prices. So everything's pretty good as far as what they think about fans. We made 3.15 million, so we'll kind of leave that. Now, if we look at what they're saying about our jerseys, they don't like the price of our football, and they still don't really like our prices of our jerseys, and they don't like the prices of our hats. So we're going to go in and we're going to drop the prices again of the jerseys that aren't selling as well. Now we see Bortles and Shorts are selling about 2,000 jerseys, a little over 2,000. Robinson, Johnson, and Lee are selling, about 1,200, 1,300. So we're going to just drop the prices on those, see if we can get them selling more of those and leave the other ones in line. Now we're also going to drop the price of the hat one tick, but I don't think having a $10 difference in between the two hats is good. So we're going to also drop the $59.50 hat also. As I mentioned before, if you're just starting off, I'd go in, and you're not a great team, I'd go in and just start everything off one tick below where it is. But if you are starting off as a team that's more in the middle, or one that you can expect to contend, you can use this to kind of determine where you're at now and how you can adjust it to maximize your money going forward. So this is we want to try to tackle both things going forward. So again, they didn't like a couple of our prices there, so we adjusted them. Now here's our team revenue. This is going to show you where we're at. This is really important, where you want to spend time and figuring out where you are. As we see it with a home game, we made 5.99 million in income, but we spent 4.46 million in expenses. Okay, so that's a profit of 1.53 million, like we said early on. Now, the thing to pay attention to here is we have ticket prices and our concessions, which equal about 3.5 million. We know on a road game, those are coming off the books completely. Okay, so we're going to take 3.5 million out of that. So if we made 1.5 million and we're losing 3.5 million in revenue, that means on every road game we're going to lose 2 million if all things stay the same. So, and if you have 10 home games, 10 road games, if you conclude the preseason, and you're losing an average of 500,000 between them because you're making 2 million on a road game, or you're losing 2 million on a road game, making $1.5 million on a home game, that's a 500,000 net loss. Over 10 games, 10 road games, that means you're going to lose 5 million on the season. And where we're at right now, that means we're going to be in negative funds going into the offseason. And actually, we have an extra road game, so we're going to wind up like 2 million negative in funds if we continue on that path. So we want to change it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go in, and I'm going to show you guys where the easiest way to cut funds and save money is, and that's on your roster. Now don't go on your regular roster, go into the team salaries, and then you can scroll over here and you can sort by cap penalty. Cap penalty is important because you don't want to incur a lot of cap penalty. Now right now you don't have a lot of funds, you can't max out your cap space anyway, but once you have money and you can go into the free agency and you have money to spend on free agencies, you want to make sure that you have as much of your cap space available as possible. So always pay attention to your cap penalty and make sure that you're not incurring a large cap penalty. You don't want, even if you lose 2-3 million on your cap penalty, that's going to affect the amount of money that you can put into your team. So once I sort it by cap penalty, I'm going to go into each position and I'm going to look and see where can I save some money. Is there dead weight anyway? And the first thing that I noticed is Chad Henne. Okay, Chad Henne has 0 cap penalty, but we're paying him $4 million a year. And Blake Bortles is a 77 overall. We're probably going to start Blake Bortles. He's just a better quarterback. This isn't real NFL. We don't need to work him in. He's going to play the way we play with him. And so there's really no need to have a backup making $4 million. Now, it would be nice to have if Bortles doesn't do well, but that's just $4 million on the books that we don't need right now. So we're going to go ahead and cut Henne and save us $4 million right off the bat. So if our projections are right, that we're going to lose about $4 million over the course of the season, because we're going to lose $500,000 for every, road game versus home game. So that's going to put us really close to breaking even just with that one player, saving $4 million. I know it says you're saving $4 million in cap space, but that's $4 million in player salary that you're paying out. So if you can save that money, that's where you want to do it. Now here's the second one. Okay, Toby Gerhart. We've got 4 running backs all over 70. We got 70, 70, 71, and 79. Well, our 79 over a running back has no bonus. He's making $3.5 million a year. That's pointless. Like, why did they even pay to bring that guy on? They have 3 other running backs who are equal or fairly similarly talented. Just not worth it to have $3.5 million sitting on the books right there. So we're going to go ahead and cut him. Now, you guys could totally try to trade to somebody else in your league. There might be somebody out there that would want a Chad Henne or want a Toby Gerhart. So you could certainly, try to trade them. They're not great talents, and for the sake of the video, I'm going to save some time. So I'm just going to cut them. I'm going to show you guys what it does when you get that dead weight off of the books, how it's going to affect the finances for your league. So the next one over here is tight end. Now this one, 71 overall, I'm going to leave that there. That's not a big deal. It's good to have 2 good tight ends. He's only making $1.5 million, even though he had no penalty. I'm going to hold on to him. So we're going to go through here. We're going to look at the rest of the roster and kind of see where else we can save some money. Now that one was just the center. We got to cut 5 guys, so I just cut them. Now one thing you'll notice on there, it said freed cap room 0. Some of these guys in the preseason, they don't expect them to make your team, so it's not gonna count towards your cap room because they don't expect them to make your team anyway. So just when you're going through the preseason and you're cutting guys, just realize that it didn't expect you to have those guys anyway. So I'm just shaving off some players here so we can cut the 5 mandatory guys that aren't gonna make it. Now we get into the defensive ends here, and this is another area with this team where they're paying out a ton of money for guys that are similarly talented. We've got an 85 and a 77 overall right end. We don't really need 2 guys that are that good. Now we go to left end and we say we've got an 82 and a 77. Again, and these guys are all combined. Those 2 guys are making $10 million, over $10 million. And then these guys combined are making about $6 million. So they're making over $7 million. So we've got $17 million a year tied up in defensive ends. That's excessive. Now, the one thing you want to look out for is you want to make sure that you have a little bit of depth there. So we want to keep the best guys. We're going to keep Clemens. And then we got to decide who we're gonna take. We're gonna keep Bryant. We're gonna keep. We might get rid of Olau, but he's got a $560,000 cap penalty. Like I said, we want to try to stay away from cap penalty if we can. So look at him. He's 27 years old. Then we got Babin over here, who's 34 years old. Now he's only going to save us $2.76 million, but he's not going to cost us a cap penalty. We'd save a little bit more by cutting Olau, but we're going to go ahead and cut Babin and save that 2.75. So if you look at cutting Henne, Gerhart, and Babin, that saved us. It was $4 million, 3.5, and 2.75. So we're already saving over $10 million. Right now, we're saving $10 million just by cutting 3 players. Just getting rid of them. If you can try to trade them, you can get some draft picks or whatever. Go ahead and try that. But 3 players right there are saving us a ton of money. Now, here's another one. Ziggy Hood. Again, we got a bunch of guys that are all in the 70s here. He's not appreciably better than any other defensive tackle on our roster. He's the 2nd rated tackle, but we got 2 other guys on there that are right about the same. There's no need for us to have 4 defensive tackles that are all in the 70s, especially when one's making $4 million. And he doesn't fit our scheme. He was a 3-4 tackle. We're trying to run a 4-3. So there's really no reason for him. So we're going to cut him. That's another $4 million. So now, right, preseason week 1, doing our first rounds of cut, we've shaved $14 million in salary off of there. Are players that we don't need. They're just excess. They're just sitting there. We don't need them. So that's $14 million. That's going to be a difference. I mean, by the way we looked at that first game, we're looking at losing $4 million over the course of the season. So now we're looking at making $10 million if everything else stays the same. So that's a huge difference. And that's things that guys have to look at when you're going through your teams and trying to figure out. Now, I went in there and showed you guys. It's still saying that we need to cut 5 players, but when we actually go in there and cut, it says 0 of 0. So everything's good. So we're going to delegate the game prep here. We don't have to do that, but we're going to. So this is an away game, so this is going to show us what happens. We're going from 4.53 million, and we're going to see what happens after our first road game, how much money we're actually losing. We thought it's going to be about 2 million, so we'll see where it's at after we sim through this week. So we actually went from 4.53 million to 2.28 million. So we actually lost a little over 2 million, a little bit more than what we thought we were going to lose. So let's go into we lost 2.25 million. Okay, so if we made 1.53 and we lost 2.25, that's a negative of about 750,000. You know, when you play one home game, one road game, that between the two of them, you're losing 750,000. So that's what we don't want to do. Now, not all of our roster cuts are played into there because we showed we paid out, I think it was like 4 million in salary last week, and it's 3.56. That's going to keep going down as we get through the preseason and whatnot. But that shows you a big difference in, you know, what you're losing versus what you're taking in. That's got to change. So we got to figure out a way that not only with the salary, but through our tickets and stuff like that, we can make some extra money. We want to make as much money as we can throughout the season, so we have as much money as possible going forward. Now, tickets were pretty good. When we look at their looking at it, you know, and this is one thing too. If I get a bonus, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to buy a Blake Bortles jersey. To me, that means that he can't afford to buy the jersey by itself. That's to me telling me that it's a little bit too high. So we want to drop the price on that a little bit. So we're actually going to drop the price on all of our jerseys, or actually at least Bortles and shorts, since, you know, they're probably both going to be a little bit too expensive. And then we'll go into our concessions here. And again, they like the potato chips, the coffee is decent, and the burger's normal. Okay, so you know, now they're pretty happy with everything. Burger, it says it tasted bad, so you could go in there and you could adjust it down a little bit more, but they say it's at least average price. So again, that's kind of where we're at. Now we kind of see where we're at. We got to cut a few more players, so we'll go in and do that, and then we'll advance to the next week and see where we're at, see where our money is. Okay, so I'm going to here's another situation where you can save money or you can cost yourself money. We don't need 2 fullbacks on our roster, right? So we have a 68 overall fullback and I believe a 71 overall fullback. When you look over there, it says a negative 60,000 savings. He's got a $370,000 salary for this year, $480,000 next year, and $240,000 bonus. And a $120,000 cap penalty, because that's the bonus that you wouldn't have paid next year if you cut him. I'm not sure why it says we're going to lose $600,000 or $60,000. It doesn't make much sense. It's not a ton of money, but if I have to choose between the two, you know, and they're pretty similar overall, 71 versus 68, and I'm going to save, you know, an extra $600,000 by cutting that one, I'm just going to go ahead and cut him. And I'm going to save that money. So that's, again, something that you want to pay attention to, you know, when you're going through that, and make sure that you're actually saving money when you're cutting somebody or when you're trading somebody. You know, always make sure that you're paying attention. You know, how is this going to affect my overall salary and whatnot? So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to cut a couple more guys and get the roster intact with where we need it to be, and then we'll go ahead and sim the next week. Okay, so we have about $200,000 in funds. So we lost right about the amount that we expected. We didn't have as much revenue You're not going to have your tickets and as your concessions, so you're going to lose. So we lost 2.08 million, which is right about where we expected to. So the biggest difference is going to be next week to see where we're at next week and how much money we make. Are we going to make more than 1.5 million? So that we're not losing money every week. Can we make 2 million? The offset the 2 million we're losing when we're on the road, and at least break even. Hopefully we want to get to a point where we're actually making money every week. So that's where we want to go. So that's what we're going to look at. Again, we'll look through the tickets. Again, look and see what the fans are saying about the tickets. If they don't like the ticket prices or concessions or merchandise, lower them down. If they are happy with them, just leave them where they are. Okay, well there we see we actually jumped up to 2.74 million. So we had a good week. So adjusting our prices and cutting some of that dead weight is making a difference now. Our merchandising went up, concessions dropped a little bit, so we got to try to figure out what we can do there. But overall, team revenue 2.54 million. So we know we're going to lose about 2 million. Just on days that we don't have home games. So if we can make 2.5 million on days that we do have home games, that's an extra profit of 500,000 per, home game versus road game. Split that over a 16-week season, 8 home games, 8 road games. That's an extra 4 million a year. So we know we cut, or we know that we were projected to lose 4 million. Now we're on a pace where we should make about 4 million, and that's if nothing changes from where it is right now. All right, so we adjusted all of our financials. We see our first game of the year is going to be on the road against Philly. So we're projecting to lose about $2 million per road game just because we don't have our ticket income and our concession income. So let's see where we're at after the first week. All right, so our funds are actually at 716,000. And we actually beat the Eagles, so Jaguars start off 1-0. So let's take a look at our finances and see what happened for the first week of the season. So we lost 2.02 million, exactly where we thought we were going to be. And that's going to probably stay pretty consistent from now on. We're going to know that we're going to lose roughly 2 million for every road game because we don't have our tickets, our ticket pricing, and our concession revenue. And then we're hoping to make at least 2.5 million on our home game, so we can get a profit of 500,000, for every home game versus road game. So a net profit of roughly, 4 or 5 million over the course of the season, if nothing else changes. So that's the way it looks. Next game is going to be another road game, so we'll see if we keep at the 2 million, which I expect us to, and we'll kind of see where that goes and where we're at. Okay, so the game against the Redskins, we played, and we're now minus 1.3 million, so we lost about 2 million again. We did win that game against the Redskins, so we're actually starting off 2-0. So the Jags, after an 0-4 preseason, are starting off 2-0 in the regular season. So we'll go in and take a look at the finances again. And again, exactly what we thought. We lost 2.02 million, so that's probably going to be pretty consistent. First 2 games are exactly that. So every road game, we know we're losing 2.02 million. Since we have 8 home games, 8 road games, we need to make more than 2 million on our home games to make sure that we're turning a profit. All right, so we got our first game against the Colts, and we're going to advance and see what happens. Now we were negative 1.3 million. Going into this game. It's our first home game of the season. Let's see where we are at after the big divisional matchup with the Colts. Oh, and look at that. We're up to positive 5 million after one game. One game. We went up to positive 5 million. So we did lose to the Colts, but we went up 5. We got positive 5. So that means we made $6.3 million. So let's take a look at our revenue. 6.29 million in profit. Now, huge part was ticket sales. We made 5.7 million in concession or tickets, 2.65 in merchandise, 674,000 concessions. As you can see, concessions are not a big part of your profit loss. Merchandise and tickets is where all the money is. Obviously, that was a big game. We probably had close to a sellout because it was 2-2-0 teams. It was a division matchup, first home game of the year. So that was big. That gave us a huge bump. Now we're up to $5 million. So again, you can go in at this point and check and kind of see where everything is, see if you need to adjust anything. I probably wouldn't necessarily adjust anything up, price-wise, but, as you can see, we sold 18,000 t-shirts. Now, we only sold 1,800 jerseys, so t-shirts are a big thing there. All of these things, sweatshirts, hats, stuff like that, you're going to sell between 3,000 and 4,000 roughly. They're all going to be pretty much the same. But as we see, the jerseys are where the money is. Now, or the t-shirts are where the money is. Now, the jerseys went up. We got 3,500 for Bortles, 2,200 for the other guys. So had a big week as far as merchandising. So that played a big role as well as the tickets. So we're going to go on, and we got our next game. Now we're 2-1. We're going to go to San Diego. So we expect to lose $2.02 million. So go ahead and sim that and see where it goes. All right, so we were up to, I think it was 4.98. Now we're down to 2.96. So we lost our 2.02, which we expected. We'll verify that real quick. We lost it. Okay, cool. So let's go on and sim to the next week and get going. All right, we went ahead and simmed through that one. We actually did win that game. It's our second home game. So take a look at what we did, and it looks like we made $3.11 million. So drastic change from the first game, in which we made $6 million or so. This one kind of went cut in half, made about $3 million. Probably more in line with what we'll see for the rest of the season. If we can make $3 million at home, lose $2 million on the road, we're still getting a net profit over $1 million, 10 million, 10 weeks left, 5 for 6 home games, maybe we'll come out winning or profiting 5 or 6 million. But we're at least on the positive track. So we're going to go ahead and sim through the end of the season and see where we wound up. All right, so we're at the end of the season, and as you can tell by the being on the staff re-signings, the Jaguars did not make the playoffs. However, if you look at our available funds, we have $18.2 million. If you remember, back in the preseason, we were starting off projecting to lose $4 million over the course of the season. So we went from a $4 million projected loss to having $18.2 million in available funds. So that just kind of goes to show you, what you can do when you go in and you cut dead weight off your roster, which was a big part of it. We cut 13 or 14 million early on. That was a big part of where the extra money came from, and then we adjusted our ticket prices and concessions and stuff like that, and got to a point where we made 18 million. Now we made 18 million, and the Jaguars were 5-11. If you remember way back, the Jaguars were right at, I think, 3-2 or something like that. They actually wound up losing their last 8 games of the season. So, and finished 5-11. So, and we still made $18 million. So that just goes to show, you can definitely make money in this game with a bad team, with a team that loses 8 games in a row. And they went through and they were getting blown out at the end of the year. But, we still made money. So I just wanted to, go through and show you guys what you can do with a team that's not that great, and a market that's not that great, with a stadium that's not, all that great, and, lose games and you can still make money. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and you guys took something away from it that will help you guys out going forward. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll try to help you guys out as much as you can. Be sure to hit the like button, share it with your friends so they can get the same tips and help them out so they're not losing money every year. If you guys want to check out our leagues, you can always go to px1sports.com, click on leagues. It will show you our Madden leagues that we have going on. You can apply to be part of our leagues. You can also follow us on Twitter at px1sports, and you can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/px1sports. So again, appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully it helped, and we will see you guys next time with another how-to video on improving your Madden 15 game. Hope you guys all have a good one. See you next time.